one day inhabit us. But before he can inhabit us, he has to purify us of all the sins that are in our bodies. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 7, because this is the main point that I want to bring out. It's very clear that Paul knew the mystery of God better than any of the other apostles did. Even Peter admitted that in some of his writings. In Revelation chapter 7, it introduces a group of people that God was going to use in a special way in the last generation. And I'm going to start reading at verse 1. It says, "After these things I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, or on the sea, or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Do not harm the earth, and do not harm the sea, or do not harm any green thing until we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads." Then he goes on down to give an outline of how 12,000 were sealed from each one of the tribes of Israel. In verse 9, it's something very interesting, because it says, "After these things I beheld, and I saw a number that no man could number." So first he says he heard the number of this special group, and he heard the number of them as 144,000. But because God wanted him to see what he had previously heard, he said, "I saw the number of them, that it was a group that was so vast that no man could number them. And they were from every nation, they were from every tribe, and they were from every kindred." And it says they were standing before the throne of God, and they had white robes on. Well, we know from reading Revelation chapter 19, verse 10, that the white robes represent the righteousness of Christ. And then he goes on to say that in verse 10 here in chapter 7, "And crying with a loud voice, saying, Salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne forever, and to the Lamb." Verse 11 says, "And all the angels stood around about the throne, and the elders and the 4 living creatures, and fell on their faces before the throne and worshiped God, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom, thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever." Now, when God knew that John wasn't going to really ask the question that he really needed to ask, God wanted us to know exactly who these people were. So one of the 24 elders that were in heaven asked John specifically this question. He said, "Who are these that are dressed in white?" And of course, John didn't know the answer. So he said, "You know, you tell me," in a sense. And so he says, "These are the ones who have come out of great tribulation." Now that's the first clue. This 144,000 and this great multitude are those that have come out of great tribulation. He goes on to say that they have washed their robes and made them white. In verse 15 it says, "Therefore they are before the throne of God, and they serve him day and night in his temple." Now that's really interesting, because it reminds me of the Old Testament Levitical system. You're going to notice, as you look over in the courtyard there, you're going to notice a man dressed in white. And you're going to notice also when you look at the high priest with all the different paraphernalia on represents the Aaronic priesthood. And the high priest always points to Christ. Everything that the earthly high priest did represents something that Christ was going to do. Now you notice the man dressed in white over here in the grassy area. The Levites were the ones chosen to be the priests of God. And you remember the story when Moses went up to Mount Sinai for 40 days to get the 10 Commandments. The people that were down in the plain thought that they thought he forgot about them. So they persuaded Aaron to build a golden calf. They gave all their gold and their silver, and they melted it, and they made a golden calf. The only ones that did not worship this golden calf were the tribe of Levi. As a result, God gave the priestly ministry to the tribe of the Levites. So none of the other tribes were given the privilege of being part of the priesthood except the Levites. Now there's one distinction. The line of Aaron was also part of the tribe of Levi, but from the line of Aaron came the high priests. The helper priests, you might say, came from the rest of the Levitical tribe. Okay? Just to make that distinction there. And that's really important point, because the Levites were the only tribe that were not allocated any specific land. You'll notice that when they came out of Egypt, each tribe was given a specific amount of land. But the tribe of Levi didn't have any land. God said that I'm going to be your portion. I'm going to take care of you. So they didn't have any land. And that's important, because you're going to see that same theme reiterated in the book of Revelation. You're going to notice something that I noticed that's really interesting. All through the Bible, 7 is represented as a perfect number.